don't have that calculator.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On request of the Masjid, mashallah, Masjid ibn Maryam, Hafiz Maulana Ishaq, they've organized a wonderful program, inshallah. We're just having a short sort of training nasiha, and as you can see by the title, it is What is Progress in Maktabs? We're sorry for the slight delay, but we're hoping to have 2 sessions, inshallah. The first session will focus on, as you saw in the poster, how to measure progress within your masjid timetable. That's the first session, inshallah, which Shaykh will deliver, and then we'll have a short Asr break. And after Asr, the second session will focus upon how to measure impact outside of the classroom long before students leave the maktab, whether they're 16 or 17 years old, inshallah. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Shaykh Hasan Ali. As many of you know, a short introduction, alhamdulillah, Shaykh has been working within the khidmat of publications, academies, maktabs, systems, many things purely within improving the standards in maktabs for more than 25 years, alhamdulillah. So there's so much experience, inshallah, the Shaykh will share, not just from a UK-wide, from the own individual Safar academies, branches that we have in London, but also advising academies and maktabs, Islamic schools across the world, alhamdulillah. So Shaykh, bismillah, over to you. First session, how to measure progress within the Masjid timetable.
What time is that? 6:15. And the adhan is what time? And the adhan doesn't come in? It won't come in. So first thing is, people, please hold on to your wudu. And that'll be highly recommended. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala sayyidina wa nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We've got quite a bit to deliver in this short period, so you're going to have to keep your brain switched on and move on with me, because I'm not going to repeat so much. So one of the first things in terms of trying to get your maktab progress done, you have to have a few things in place. Okay? So I'm going to try and mention this as short as I can, but these are huge things which you have to have in place. So one is, are you an independent organization, or are you under a masjid committee, under another organization that tells you what to do? Because your independence is really, really important for you to make all these progresses, the checks in place. You have to be independent. There's no way you can do this if, for example, let's say I've got a class of 15 students, and all of a sudden a committee member comes along to me and says to me, you have to put another 2 kids in here, another 3 kids in here, because they are sons of our donors, yeah? Because they're the puttars of our founders of this masjid. Whatever it is, you can't do this, okay? You can't have, in fact, the fees that you're charging, the amount of things that I'm going to talk about, you have to make sure that your fees, they cover all of those expenses. You shouldn't be a maktab that is either just struggling to make ends meet, and you shouldn't become a madrasa or something that is going out there and getting chanda or getting donations to keep your masjid, your madrasa afloat. And the masjid should never see the madrasa or the maktab as a means of making money for themselves. This is a total no-go. Why? Because most maktabs do not make monies. If they're making monies, something's going wrong in the sense that look, you've got a lot to get done. You've got a whole years of staff to pay. Not only that, I'm going to tell you additional stuff that you need to get in place for this progress, all this progress to be checked. If you're making a little bit on top, alhamdulillah, that's really healthy with all your admin costs, everything else. But if you're making a lot of money, usually that's because you're oversized. You've got less staff to more students. The fees are coming in purely to keep the masjid, funded. And that shouldn't be the case. And a lot of places, they make this, they make this huge mistake of doing this. A huge mistake. Okay, now, I'm going to say to you, once you're independent, your staff are your staff. The ratio of your staff to students is really important. So we usually put 15 to 1 teacher. That's our ratio. Okay? So that's usually 15 students in a class to 1 teacher. And the fees are worked out for all these different things I'm going to say. Number one, your biggest cost is going to be your teachers' salaries. And as money, so let's just say, for example, your maktab has 90 children, you're going to need straight away 6 teachers. Okay? If your maktab is 150 students, you're going to need to have 10 teachers. Now, with those 10 teachers, what do? You've got 150 kids, you've got 10 teachers. You need money to have and to pay for an administration person who's there every single day of your maktab, just working there. Okay? For all the other things, so these teachers should not be dealing with anything else except for teaching. So that admin's cost needs to come out of your fees as well. You also need an amir. For all the progress I'm going to talk about right now, you're going to need an amir. What is an amir or head of madrasa? What does he do? He has no teaching, he doesn't go into the class and start teaching. He looks over the entire maktab, the entire madrasa that you've got, the 10 teachers, they're teaching. He looks over their admin side as well. He's in charge of the entire thing. And he's floating around. During the entire maktab time, he will go around the classes and he will see that the teachers are doing their duties that they should do. There's no way you're going to get progress checked if you don't have a man above all the teachers going around and actually seeing what they're doing. So you have to have that in place. So now look, you're going to have some maktabs that have costs for books. Okay. Now books charge, you can either put it within the fees or you can get parents to pay for it separately. But if they pay for it separately, you've got another headache of getting the monies in twice instead of once. So look, I've said this, I'm going to put it again in a nutshell. Independence from a committee, you need to be independent. You need to charge the right fees to make sure you cover all your teachers, your admin, your amir, okay? And if you want to include your books or any other admin costs that you've got, papers, photocopies, this and that, whatever you might have, all of that needs to be there. Then you're ready to go with what we say now, okay? One further thing is, your teachers need to teach. The way that you structure your 2 hours, or you structure your 10 hours a week or 8 hours a week, your teachers need to teach everybody the same subject at the same time. Now get a hold of this. Because a lot of maktabs, what they do is they might have one tajweed teacher. That tajweed teacher will teach 1 hour tajweed, first hour. Then what happens is those students go to the Islamic studies teacher, and the Islamic studies students will come all the way to the tajweed teacher. Now, if you're doing this, you are teaching, your teacher, tajweed teacher, is covering many different students. He's doing tajweed all the time. But what you're not doing is, you're not able to fit in the system I'm going to talk about. The system I'm going to talk about works fine, works perfectly well if you have tajweed at one time. All your teachers are teaching tajweed. Or when I say tajweed, I mean in there's qaida, in there's juz amma, in there is the Quran, in there is tajweed classes, tajweed books, whatever. At that one moment, every person in the entire maktab or madrasa needs to be teaching that. Okay? When you move to the surahs, du'as and surahs, or memorization, whatever you want to call it, okay? At that time, the entire maktab, entire madrasa needs to do that. When you move to the Islamic studies lesson, the whole place needs to be doing Islamic studies at the same time. And why that is because you have now got the flexibility of shifting students around according to their abilities. Okay? Now get a hold of this. According to our Academy Suffer publications, the way we worked out, and we've been doing this for 25 years. Okay? The best way it works is when your teachers are all teaching Islamic studies. Okay, this is the only one where you go by age group. Age group is only when you teach Islamic studies books, because the books have been designed for the content in those books are for those age groups. You cannot take them further than the age group. Why? Because the contents are going to get too heavy for them, or the contents are going to become something which is above their heads. For example, if a year 4 school student is doing a year 6 book here, because our year 6 book is in correspondence with the schooling system out there, with the year 6 out there. So when you have a year 4 student doing a year 6 book, all of a sudden they're going to come across matters to do with puberty. Matters to do with puberty. Now, there's no such thing for that age group. When they're 8 years old, or and they're covering something that is 10, 11 years old, it's just going to go above their head. It's not going to resonate with them. Plus, our books have been placed so that every year of the curriculum in school, we've placed something that touches on that side. So when they're bombarding the students with, do you believe in God? In the RSC lessons, do you believe in God? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? When they're bombarding with atheism, our books in that age are bombarding them and putting the score right by telling them these are your beliefs for the existence of God. I don't want to get into that. You have to look in the books, you have to look at the age groups, you have to see what's happening, and we've worked that out over 2 decades. We've worked that out. Okay, now, if you've got those things all set in place, okay, we're going to now move on. Right? Some of you came late. I'm going to quickly summarize for you. Independence of a committee member, of committee members. You have to be yourself independent as a Maktab Madrasa. You have to have your fees covering all your staff, the admin. They have to cover your Amir, which is a person floating around, not teaching. He's looking around and seeing that the entire system is working. Okay? And any other costs of books, of whatever it is, the fees will cover all of that. And then your timing of your lessons is anything you said. So 5 o'clock is Quran lesson. Everybody is either in Quran, Qaida, Juz'a Amma, Tajweed, or back in that at that 5 o'clock. Then this whole progress system that I'm talking about is going to work. So let's move on. Okay. So let's begin with the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "According to Aisha radiallahu anha, أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل." Very famous hadith that the actions that are most pleasing to Allah are those that are continuous, although they may be little. Now, with progress of the qaida, the juz amma, the surahs, the du'as, the whatever it is you're learning, they have to come back to those things again and again. That's how we learn. We learn with repetition. But you give them in small amounts. Like the same things they learn, they will forget. They will forget. And they come back to it, and then you reinforce what you learn. And our system is based upon that. So we'll go through that. So now let's go. I don't know if that's clear for the people at the back there. But let's just say they're memorizing something. Du'as and surahs, which is very common in maktabs and madrasas. You've got them learning, a set of du'as, some surahs or something. Now, what do? We have something called a halaqa-based system. If you want to know fully about this, you have to go to our teacher training portal. Okay, so you have to just type in Google, Suffer Teacher Training, SAFAR Teacher Training. In that, you will see a whole section to do with the halaqa system, or you'll see a whole system to do with memorization of du'as and surahs. And what that will teach you is, this is how we do it, okay? We have students, because what I've just done now is this. When I've told you 5 o'clock, everybody does Quran or Qaida class, okay, and so on. The only class where all students are doing it at the same age level, age group, is the Islamic studies. When it comes to du'as and surahs, and when it comes to Qaida, Quran, Tajweed, you can put them according to abilities. Now what happens is something very, very unique here. You can have a child that is 8 years old in a halaqah with other children that are 11 years old. Because now the whole maktab is doing it at the same time. So remember, that's for your ease, and you'll see how it works. The students come in. I'm going to say this very briefly, but please, for a comprehensive approach to this, you have to go to our teacher training portal. I think there's a full 1.5 hour video that we've professionally recorded. Now, why have we recorded this? It's all free, right? It's all mufat, which is something that you guys love, yeah? So free. But free, there's another problem that happens. When it's free, sometimes people give no value to it. We spent £20,000 and 2 weeks of a whole, professional team together to record just 12. How many hours is it total? 12 hours of video. 20 grand and a whole team of people professionally recorded. Why did we do that? Because we were going town to town, city to city, giving formal teacher training on site. It became too much for us. We've got hundreds of maktabs across the world that have taken the system. It's impossible for us to go every single location. Okay? So then we decided we'll do the professional recording and we put it out there free for you to see. So there's a 1.5 hours of recording explaining this halaqah system. Very briefly, what happens is a student comes in and they'll have a certain circle. Let's say, for example, they're learning at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyibat. Okay? So in this, what's happening? A new student has joined this group. The student comes in, he's part of the group. There's about 6 members in this group, and there is already a student in that group. He's a student who's passed this, passed through the many systems I'm going to go through right now, and this student is now teaching other students. He's saying at-tahiyyatu, and everybody in that group, 5 of them say at-tahiyyatu. He says lillahi, lillahi, was-salawatu, was-salawatu, wat-tayyibat, wat-tayyibat, assalamu alayka, assalamu alayka, ayyuhan nabiyyu, ayyuhan nabiyyu. The whole system is there. In fact, the way I'm pronouncing it, I'm saying it, we've actually put not only an app that is there. Again, there's a Du'as and Surahs app you can find on Google Play, and you can find it on the iOS system, whatever, Apple phones, whatever that is, okay? So you can find it on there, or we've actually got an entire distance learning platform that we created, which Mubin is going to talk about it after, right at the end. On there, we're going to put all of those recordings. So those recordings of how to say this is on there. Anyway, this student came in. He's now listening and repeating. So this is him trying to learn it. Let's say, for example, he learned the whole of Tashahhud up to wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Fine. He's been there learning. Every time he comes there in that circle, he's listening, learning. And by the way, at home we've got the app that helps the parents, so the students can go home and they can go over this at home, making sure that the correct pronunciation is there. And flags up right now, please make sure that the pensioners, the pensioners sitting at home, the grandfathers, the grandmothers, they're very excited, people who want to see their grandchildren progress, are not teaching them at-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. Okay? And with all the alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin or la'allakum tattaqun, right? With all the different tajweed mistakes that they've inherited, they're passing it on to the students. Student learns it right in the madrasa, wrong at home, right in the madrasa, wrong at home. Mudhabdhabina bayna dhalik, la ilaha illallah wa la ilaha illallah, right? We probably messed up, okay? So don't put the kids through that trauma. Make sure you ban all helpers at home, including the grannies, who are so passionate of trying to see the grandchildren progress. Anyway, let's look at. Let's say the student now has finally learned. What will he do? What's the way of seeing the progress? Number one, you can see is the peer testing. That student who's been teaching in the halaqah will listen to him and say, okay, yeah, I think you're ready to pass. That little group of 6 students had another group of 4 students, had another group of 5 students, approximately 15 students. There's a teacher sitting here. Let's say I'm the teacher right now. I've got 3 halaqas I'm monitoring, 3 student teachers, 1 student teacher here, 1 student teacher there, 1 student teacher here. And then suddenly, this group from the 6 children learning at-tahiyyatu, one of them comes up to me and says, Ustad, I'm ready to pass. So I listen. And I think, okay, yeah, they're ready to pass. So then we move on to, and that's the test with the teachers that you can see, which is number 2. Okay, so we move on to the next thing, which is, now, I will then move this student. I say, okay, fine, I'm the little teacher here. I'm going to say to him, okay, go to the main teacher. This is the tajweed expert. So what we do in this full system, we identify one person who is very sharp at listening. Because you've got to understand, okay, if you're like, you can become a wonderful alim, but you're probably not a muallim. Okay? You can become a person who is a scholar who knows the knowledge, but you're not a person who's a muallim who can pass it over. I remember Mawlana Thani Rahmatullah, he wrote in one place, wonderful thing, he said, according to Shaykhs he was writing, he said, you can find certain periods in Shaykhs that are salihin, they're salih, but they're not muslih. They are themselves very pious. They're very pious, wonderful Muzuls, but they're not muslih. Muslih is someone who takes someone under them and then rectifies their mistakes. So you can be a wonderful person who's learned the information, but you're not a wonderful teacher. You're not a teacher who can pass. Now, again, with this listening, we've actually found that certain teachers have got this acute listening that can find those little things. Most teachers who know how to say at-tahiyyatu properly can't get at those mistakes. Can't, know what exactly, what should we, what that little thing is, the ha, the he, the ta that was stretched a little bit. Anyway, the point is, they will identify one teacher who's the best at listening, that teacher, all those students, I'm passing, don't forget, look, this is just my class. We have got 150 students in this madrasa, okay? We've got 10 teachers. All 10 teachers have got different halaqas. They've got about 3-4 halaqas, each one of them has got it under him. So I'm sending students to him, somebody else sending students to him, right? Now when my student goes to the main tajweed teacher, let's say for example, there's a Maulana sitting here, let's call him Shu'aib for example, his name is Shu'aib, Maulana Shu'aib, he's there standing and he's getting students coming from all different directions and he listens to them. Now let's say, Maulana Shu'aib listens to them and he says, how comes that, tahiyyatu, he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha. What's the mistake there?
What?
Put your hands up, tell me, what is it?
The what?
Ashhadu an la, it's a wow there, there's supposed to be a hamza there. Ashhadu an la ilaha. Okay, see, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. So then what he does is, he says, okay, go and tell your teacher, and there's a whole program, in our system, there's a whole marking scheme as well, where it's clearly written that he made this mistake. It's a pronunciation mistake. Put a P there. It's all written in our system. You have to see the books and see the marking scheme to understand what it is. It's so brilliant, this system, because at one point, when he puts that P down there, next to that teacher, the teacher was told, the teacher knows, okay, he made a mistake over here. Teacher, you made this mistake. The teacher sees that mark, fine. When that child takes the book home, the parent straight away knows what mistake was made today and why my child never passed. I've had all my 3 kids go through Suffer Academy. I've never had to go to a teacher and say, why hasn't my child passed? I just open the book, see the marking scheme, yeah, straight away I know there's a kind of pronunciation or a stretch thingy mistake made here. Again, this whole thing, everything I'm saying, bite size I'm giving you, go to our teacher training portal, is explained to you to the finest detail how this works. Okay? So when you go there, you will see it. Anyway, so now if I send the student back, and I've got a second student that comes again and says again, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Maulana Shaykh will get up, he'll go to that teacher and say, if it's me, he'll say, how come you had the second student that coming over here with the same mistake? So do you guys get the point? So then the teacher will actually say, okay, I've got to now, up my game and make sure I teach Ashhadu Allah, and I'll tell the student there who's teaching, say Ashhadu Allah. Okay, make sure that it's all done with good clarity. If this student passes, there's a scheme that we will put the pass there. There's a whole internal system we built. Okay, with this internal system where it's on, we started with Excel sheets, it's moved on to a massive system. Brother Mubin, who's sitting on my left here, it is going to be shared across. Okay, so there will be Maktabs and Madrasa will receive it in a month or 2's time. There's a whole system in the background for you to keep that record of when that student passed. So let me just quickly move on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, before this. Number 4. If, for example, that student passes, goes to the halaqa, when that student comes back to the same at-tahiyyatu halaqa, which he just passed, he will replace the teaching student that was there. That teaching student now moves to the group of Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And now he's going to be student over there. This new student who passed at-tahiyyatu becomes the teacher now. So he has to now teach this thing to others. And until one person from his group doesn't pass, he's not going to move on to Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Okay, so that's That's the system. The next thing, so we've got the teacher has a class progress monitoring system, and it's centralized logged when the student passes with the tajweed expert. So we're going to log it, and our thing at the bottom, if you can see that, it says 3 weeks. I know the sun is over that window. It says 3 weeks as the minimum. We try and get every student to pass. Teachers need to intervene before the Amir does it. So you know that thing I just said? I'm actually passing them on to Mawlana Shaykh. Before I pass them on to Mawlana Shaykh, I better make sure that my students, I can get the mistake, I can understand the mistake, so that I don't waste the time of Mawlana Shaykh, because he's got so many students, going to him. And this whole flagging system is that I've just explained to you that will happen. Now, if you look at the next slide, you'll see part of this where I know the names come, the student names are on the left-hand side, and you've got this whole thing. Look, you've got total passes. This system will tell them about. It's a live tables, the teachers there and there, the main teacher teaching, okay, the Mawlana Shaykh, let's say Mawlana Shaykh, the tajweed expert, he's got a device in front of him. Straight away he logs. He'll go to Yasir Saeed, which is the first guy, he'll create straight away, he's passed today, that's logged into the system. So now, it helps so much. End of year reports, when you've got to get back to any parents coming, when they passed, when they didn't pass, how long did they take to pass, total fails are recorded, weeks since the last pass, there's going to be a number there as well, how long it took, and we try and, keep it so that every student is passing every halaqah within a 3 weeks of, period. Move on to the next one. We've got practical examples of progression. Is that coming from this?
You're lucky after slide, Joe.
Sorry?
After slide, it's closed.
I'm going to do a Birmingham job on that, yeah.
I presume people can see it, it's just here.
I was just saying, they've also already passed.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we've got practical demonstration. These are practical examples of progress. So this is a separate thing that we're going to talk about. The salah, I know you can't see it on your board, I'm really sorry about that. Salah, adhan, wudu, right? Just certain examples. We will have a whole, in our books you'll see that there's a whole practical session to do with this. They have to demonstrate their salah, they have to go through their salah, each stage, each book targets a different thing of their salah. So in, for example, book 2, they might learn just 2 rakats, how to do 2 rakats, how to do 3 rakats, how to do 4 rakats. When they get to book 3, they learn about these 2 rakats, 3 rakats. Zohar has 4 rakats sunnah, then Zohar has 4 rakats farz, then Zohar has 2 rakats sunnah, and so on and so forth. They learn the breakdown theoretically, and they have to practically demonstrate that. In book 4, they will learn about the positions in salah. Have I got my fingers right? Have I got my hands right when I'm standing? Have I got my feet right? Have I got my, there's a book 4 concentrates on that. Like that, each stage, by the time you get to book 6, you're now doing the khushu of salah. So now we're concentrating on the internal devotion. It's been properly mapped out, and there are demonstrations for this. There are weeks where the students will come in. There'll be a chart on the wall. There'll be a progress thing to check. Okay, have you increased your khushu over this? Now, how do you increase the khushu? Book 6, you look at it. We teach them the meaning of salah. We teach them they memorize the meaning of what they're saying in salah. Very important part. A lot of maktabs don't. A lot of syllabi don't even target that. Then we may give them all the encouragement, all the fada'il and the encouragement to do this salah is there throughout all the books. In book 6 particularly, we've given them a lot of things about concentration, how to build the concentration in salah from the hadith, from the Quran, Sunnah and so on. So that's there. Next thing is in class, every week the teacher is trying to get the students to build the khushu and tell them at home, go there and practice salah slowly with all the things that are there. Try and build your devotion inside. So again, it's a practical side. Adhan, we have competition of adhans between students to see who is the best adhan. Wudu, we'll take them to the wudu area, we'll actually see them doing the wudu, and so on and so forth. During break time, for example, you'll see, we'll encourage students to share food. We'll have the adab of eating and see. This is practical. You see, I've seen this so many times. Kid just takes his left hand, puts it straight in the packet of crisps, and he eats. I'll go to the kid, call him over, son, can you just put your right hand into the packet of crisps, even though you're a left-hander, right? I'll say, I can't do it, I'm a left-hander, whatever, yeah? Straight up. If any, I'm telling you, all you, and a lot of imams are sitting here, straight up, I found the best answer for that. I'm a right-hander, 95% of people sitting here are right-handers. Correct, yes or no? Yes? When we go to the toilet, we become left-handers. When we go to the toilet, we become left-handers, don't we? Oh, you've been using the right-hand toilet now. Okay, so because I'm a left-hander, every time I go to the toilet 4 times a day, I'm a left-hander. You eat 3 times a day, you become a right-hander, finish, job done, no more argument. Okay, so
what, 6:15, Asad?
Yes.
okay, so we're going to leave right now.
So it's the next slide, yeah, Islamic studies next, so we can...
That's fine. So we'll stop it there. It will take 2 minutes for us to get Jama'ah. We'll start straight after the Salah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.